Let's talk about Jaden Roberts a little bit. The big offensive guard dealing with an injury, had a procedure performed here. Sounds like it's a hand injury, Brent. And I think this is a spot where we talk about the transfer portal so much as it relates to plug and play starters. And essentially that's what it is, because guys aren't looking to transfer
No,
to be the
no.
third guard. But boy, Alabama adding Geno Vandermark from Michigan State, seasoned vet, fourth-year player, I believe. And now with Jaden Roberts out, he's expected back, by the way. That's what Kalen DeBoer is saying as far as the opener with Western Kentucky, is that Jaden Roberts will be ready to go. But if he isn't, at least you know you got a guy like Vandermark that's played a lot of football.
Absolutely. And this offensive line is really taking shape. I think they're happy with it. Well, we've talked about Wilkin Forby a little bit, who is getting folks' attention.
Does sound like Wilkin Formby has become pretty close to a fixture at right tackle. I've said it before about Wilkin Formby. What you like about him, he's just a guy that puts in the work and gets better.
That's right.
Every year. And I think when you think dependability, you would think more along the lines of maybe a guy that's been in the program for a year or two longer. But I actually think in this particular instance, it's Wilkin that you can think about in terms of that steady presence on a down in and down out basis. Doesn't mean he's going to be perfect. Means that he's going to take his lumps and learn and apply it pretty quickly. And you're going to see the corrections made, the adjustments made. I think that's going to end up being a big, big thing in his place, perhaps, in this starting five. But it is an offensive line that with Caden Proctor at left tackle, with that interior trio, especially when Jaden Roberts is 100% and good to go. We talk so much about Kalen DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, and how this offense is going to be explosive, and I certainly expect that to be the case. But with Justice Haynes, also sounds like Jam Miller is back.
Yes.
He had been banged up a little bit, so that running back rotation had taken a little bit of a hit, but seems to be rounding into form. This run game could really help this team across the board in being able to control games once Alabama gets into a favorable spot, because the back end of that defense is still going to be a bit of a question mark until we see it actually perform at a high level.
Yeah, real quick. One thing that helps that offensive line, I think this defensive front gives them some real competition. We talked about LT Overton last week and the improvement he's made. Jaheim Otis, Tim Keenan. It's going to be huge, frankly, as you mentioned, for this secondary. If that front seven of this defense is able to do what we think it is, and we've heard Keon Keeley mentioned a good bit this week too, guys like that. But that front seven, it could really help.
I would love to be privy to every day watching the interior defensive lineman for Alabama go against the interior trio. Boy, to see Tim Keenan, to see Tim Smith, to see those guys, Jaheim Otis, the rest of those big guys working against Tyler Booker, Jaden Roberts, Parker Brailsford, that is some high level interior offensive line and defensive line play. Your hope, if you're an Alabama fan, is that it really is an iron sharpening iron situation at the edge positions and with those offensive tackles and maybe even some of the tight ends, because Chris Braswell is in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Bucks now. Dallas Turner is in the National Football League, as we know now, with the Minnesota Vikings. So you really do hope that Q Robinson, Quay Rusal, also Keanu Coote, and you mentioned Keon Keeley as a young guy who's transitioning more at that bandit position. You really do hope that they are helping to sharpen the skills of guys like Caden Proctor and Elijah Pritchett and Wilkin Formby. Now, when we talk about the schedule, as you said, seems to be pointing towards week 3 and that trip to Madison, Wisconsin. I think Western Kentucky, though, is an opener. Last 10, 15, 20 years, Western Kentucky can throw it around the lot and can challenge you in some areas where I'm more concerned about Alabama big picture defensively than I am, say, maybe the areas where Wisconsin really would like to get it done between the numbers, between the hash marks. But I'm sure Wisconsin, looking at this perimeter defense for Alabama, will have some things in store for the outside as well.